This is Judith Lay saying Moromai, good morning and welcome as the churches of the island are once more at your service.
Men's Radio.
I'd like to start today by sending out lots of good wishes, and we'll start by wishing a very happy golden wedding anniversary to Reverend Richard Hooton and his wife Annette, who celebrated 50 years of marriage yesterday. Reverend Richard is the minister at Trinity Methodist Church at Rosemount here in Douglas, one of the many island churches who've been bridging the gap while the churches are closed by providing Zoom services each week. Not always an easy thing to do, but much appreciated, so thank you for that. And we pray that God will bless Reverend Richard and Annette with many more happy years together. And of course, it's a very happy Father's Day to all dads, granddads, and the many people who've been like a father to us. It's been said that God gives us the example of how to be the perfect parent. Compared to God, we're all going to fall short, aren't we? But in God, we find what all parents and guardians want to bring to our relationships with our children: unconditional love, non-judgmental forgiveness, and unfailing guidance and support. So let's begin with a hymn that a number of you have chosen as a particular favourite, a hymn that celebrates God's perfect care for every single one of us. Dear Lord and Father of mankind.
Dear Lord and Father of mankind, forgive our foolish ways. Reclothe us in our rightful mind, in pure rights thy service find, in deeper reverence praise. In deeper reverence praise. In simple trust like theirs who heard, beside the Syrian sea, the gracious calling of the Lord, let us like them without a word rise up and follow thee. Rise up and follow thee. O Sabbath rest by Galilee, O calm of hills above, where Jesus knelt to share with thee the silence of eternity, interpreted by love, interpreted by love. From thrice till dews of quietness, till
Wallingford Parish Church Choir singing for us there, and do please keep telling me your favourite hymns. They're a really important part of At Your Service. And as usual, at the end of the programme, I'll remind you how to contact me. For those of us whose parents are no longer with us in this world, Father's Day and Mother's Day will always bring back memories.
You must remember this. A kiss is still a kiss. A sigh is just a sigh. The fundamental things apply.
To most people, if they've heard of him at all, Harry Nilsson is that guy who had a hit with the song Without You, or maybe Everybody's Talking, the theme from the movie Midnight Cowboy. But back in 1973, Nilsson surprised his critics by releasing an album of old-time classics, backed by full orchestra, called A Little Touch of Smilson in the Night. I don't think it was much of a commercial success, but I do know that it blew my mum and dad away. They caught sight of Nilsson performing songs from the album on a BBC special late one night, and it was pretty much all they could talk about the next day. Mum went out and bought the record shortly afterwards, and trust me, we didn't have much money to throw around in those days, so it's a measure of just how much they loved the music. It was on the turntable regularly for the next few weeks, and months, and years. I suppose I could have avoided the music. It was hardly cutting edge for a growing lad, but somehow it got under my skin, and years later I'm still word perfect on all the songs. Harry Nilsson died of a massive heart attack in January 1994, aged 52. My dad died of lung cancer a year later, in January 1995, aged 59. It's such a cliché to say that time is a great healer. It still hurts, but I have found the cliché is true. I wouldn't have dared listen to Smilson shortly after Dad died, as I know I would have howled my eyes out. But over time, listening to the album became a way of remembering my father. And in the midst of the sadness, I have found that it's the good memories that remain. I can remember my dad dying, of course I can. But why would I want to, when I can put on this CD and sing along with Harry Nilsson and remember Bill McKinnon singing along with him? Rest in peace, Dad.
The world will always welcome lovers as time goes by.
Remembering a much-loved dad, an important part of this Father's Day. Well, it's been quite a week, hasn't it, with the great news that we've achieved local elimination of COVID-19 and the government able to step out of our lives. It's now very much up to us to decide how we go back to work, to school, to church and to our social life. We're encouraged not to feel pressured to do anything that we don't feel is right for us at this time. But those decisions might not be quite as easy as they sound. Many of us used lockdown time to really look long and hard at how we live, and we vowed to make big changes. But are we making those changes, or are we in danger of slipping straight back into our old ways and forgetting all that we learned during lockdown? Rev'd Alex Brown has our Bible reading for today, and as you'll hear, it's inspired him to share a very challenging message as we emerge from the dark of lockdown to the light of day. The music Alex has chosen is one of the most popular worship songs of all time, How Great Is Our God by Chris Tomlin. At a Christian festival in 2012, Chris performed a new version of the song in which the original lyrics are sung in 8 different languages: Hindi, Indonesian, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Zulu, Afrikaans and Mandarin, uniting the whole world in celebrating the greatness of our God.
我是真伟大，歌颂你生命，真伟大，全地都看见。我是真伟大。
Matthew 10:24-39. A student doesn't have a higher status than their teacher, and an employee doesn't suddenly run someone else's charity. It's enough to aspire that the student becomes like their master, and the employee embodies the values of the heart of the charity. If the head of a household is called the prince of demons, those who work for them should expect the same treatment. Don't be afraid of the future. There's nothing concealed that won't be unmasked, or hidden that isn't going to be discovered. What I am going to tell you in the quiet of dark, I want you to speak out as soon as it becomes the day. What you hear me whispering into your ear, I want you to clamber onto the rooftops and broadcast loudly. People will cause a whole load of harm to you, but they can't touch your soul. So turn all of your passion and attention to the one who guards your soul. You've been whispering God in the quiet of the dark. You've been shaping and moulding and forming our hearts. You've shut everyone's doors to rethink this world so broken. And now, what will we do when the doors are all wide open? We've been watching how it all slowed down and calling life absurd, saying how we've wrecked the planet, and just listen to the birds. We've been proud that we've been walking, jogging, spending time with kids. We've announced I'm growing vegetables, and rush hour is oh so unmissed. Some said, bless Greta Thunberg, she saw way beyond the lines. And communities were reawakened, opening up their blinds. We've seen wheelie bin collectors as the sacrificial servants that they are. Not to mention nurses, doctors, paramedics, teachers, all such stars. What we know you've told us in the dark, we need to speak today. What we know you gave us to invest, it's time to give away. Have we heard your heartbeat, seen it fast beat, felt your pulse in this? Are there whispers you've been dreaming that we're ready to dismiss? Will returning to new normal cause amnesia to strike as we busy up and fill our cars and all forget our bikes? Will the servants turn invisible, applause turn into dust? Will our kids go back to school and learn that with adults, good intentions just turn to rust? What we know you've told us in the dark, we need to speak today. What we know you gave us to invest, it's time to give away. And what about our churches? God, with everything that's passed, when you turned our bricks and mortar into walls of cyber glass, when the buildings were irrelevant and people as church bloomed, and a billion Googled prayer and broke the internet on Zoom, when we checked in on each other out of love, not just tradition, and no one was there for rotas, but because of God's commission. And you locked us down for Easter as you locked down the disciples. Then we watched you for Ascension, shouting death is never final. Then we stayed locked down for Pentecost. You sent your spirit anyway because you whisper, locked down? I've released my church in every way. And so, God, as this world unlocks its doors, oh, help us to remember, help us serve and love and save this world with acts that stay so tender. Help us not fall back into our old ways, forgetting who our kids are, as work came first where carbon-blinded, money-driven sins are. A student doesn't have a higher status than their teacher. God, help us hear the lessons from that great eternal preacher. Help us move beyond our fears and create kingdom cultures now. God unmasked and faith discovered, because we need you to say how. And if fear of people takes its grip, like every time it tries, we will rise up remembering our souls are your heart's prize. What we know you've told us in the dark, we need to speak today. What we know you gave us to invest, it's time to give away. What we know you've told us in the dark, we need to speak today. what we know you gave us to invest. It's time to give away.
The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty. Let all the earth rejoice, all the earth rejoice. Terangnya bersinar, kegelapan telah sirna. Sujudlah padanya, sujudlah padanya. Наш Бог так велик, пой со мной, наш Бог так велик. Пусть видят все, наш Бог так велик. Age to age he stands, and time is in his hands. Beginning and the end, beginning and the end.
Los tres en uno son, la Santa Trinidad, Cordero y el León.
Chris Tomlin and friends with the world edition of How Great Is Our God. Many people found the months of lockdown very difficult, with loneliness through separation from friends and family. But one 12-year-old girl believes that for her, lockdown was a gift from God. Listen now as Lula Brown tells her story, a story that begins a long time before COVID-19 was ever an issue. Lula was suffering with anxiety issues so acute that they were affecting her entire life and seriously threatening her health. Her school were understanding and the staff was supportive, and she had help from members of Family Action. But she was still struggling. And that's where Lula begins her story.
Well, in the past, my anxiety has affected my sleep, how I ate, so I didn't really eat anything. School, so it affected my concentration because I wasn't eating. And it amplified all my emotions, and so that made me sleep less, and the lack of sleep made me not want to eat, and it just went in a cycle and it got worse and worse and worse. The car journey to school was very traumatic because in my head I amplified all of my nervousness and accidentally made it all worse, and it just wasn't going well at all. When I get anxious I feel sick. I had gotten to the point where I then needed a sick bucket in the car. So I had already been getting practical help from Cara, a deputy head, Miss Neen, my head of year, and the school nurse Jane. And I'd also then been getting more help from Family Action with Ashley and Mayan. And I've formed a good bond with all of these people so I can talk to them more. So all of the people who I've just said, they've all been the start of what God was helping me with. Well, I'd already realised as soon as I found out England had COVID, I was like, okay, we're gonna go into lockdown pretty soon. I better get myself ready. So that made everything worse, just thinking about it. But then as it got closer, I was like, actually, that's exactly what I need. I need time to be and time to get away from school for a long time. So I sort of found out that lockdown was amazing for me and for my anxiety issues straight away. I have been eating much better. Like before, I was eating less than my 4-year-old sister, and I'd become a bag of bones. Eating was absolutely terrible before, but now I'm eating much better. I'm sleeping better, still having a couple of nights where I'm struggling to sleep, but most of it is fine. And I've given so many worries to God. Like I have a worry jar, and before lockdown I put like 20 worries in it, but throughout lockdown I've come back to them and I've gotten rid of 3/4 of them, and I've given most of them to God, and the other ones are just like, why did I start to worry about that? So yeah, I've put loads in the bin. So when I give a worry to God, I'm like, okay, look, this is a really big issue for me. I need your help because you're the big cheese. You're the big man. Like, you can do everything and anything. And if it's for the best and if it will help me, then he would do it. When I give a worry away to God, it changes things completely, because all of a sudden I'm like, he's going to deal with this, not me. It's not my place to worry anymore. It's quite easy to give a worry to God. But yeah, I have had the occasional worry, because, you know, you have worries where they just keep coming back. I have given a few to God and sort of grabbed them back. But I'm trying to give them back to God continuously. Tomorrow's a big day. I'm going back to school for the first time in 3 months, and that's a big change. But I've gotten my anxiety sort of sorted. It's not completely gone, and I am worried about tomorrow, like everyone else. But I'm also really excited. But I still need to have the strategies ready, but I feel so much better. 3 months ago, it seems so long ago now, and so when I got into the car the other day, I found this sick bucket, and I was like, why do we have a sick bucket in the car? For people who have felt like me and who have gone through the same as me, I would recommend giving loads of worries away to God, and it wouldn't be so scary. All of a sudden, the whole perspective is completely changed. I think that would really help. I'm just going to pray for people who have been struggling with anxiety exactly like me, or worse, people with anxiety in general. So I hope this is okay. Father, I pray for everyone who has gone through the same as me, and I pray you would take all their worries away that you can, and I pray that everything would just be different for them and you change their lives like you have for mine. We all know you're the big one, the big papa, the big cheese, and we all know that you can do everything. And so I pray that you would do everything in your power to help the people who have gone through the same as me, or are going through the same as I have. I pray that they would be healed mentally, physically, spiritually, fixed in any way possible.
Come be with me, all you who carry heavy burdens. I will give you rest. I will give you
Thank you to Lula Brown for sharing her story. Talking about our struggles and the painful parts of our life is never easy, especially when you're just 12 years old. And I'm sure you'll agree that Lula has given us plenty to think about this morning. Now I'd like to say a very good morning to Hilda, who's listening in Tremode Park here in Douglas. Hilda, greetings for you from your friend Anne Clark, who tells me that you listen each week. Hilda, thank you. I really appreciate your company. And by the happiest coincidence, your friend Anne has a poem for us to ponder on as we draw the programme to a close. The Loom of Time touches on some of what we've talked about today, the light and the dark in all our lives that weave together in God's plan.
Come be with me, all you who carry heavy burdens. I will give you rest. I will give
Man's life is laid in the loom of time to a pattern he does not see, while the weavers work and the shuttles fly till the dawn of eternity. Some shuttles are filled with silver threads, and some with threads of gold, while often but the darker hues are all that they may hold. But the weaver watches with skilful eye each shuttle fly to and fro, and sees the pattern so deftly wrought as the loom moves sure and slow. God surely planned the pattern. Each thread, the dark and fair, is chosen by his master's skill and placed in the web with care. He only knows its beauty and guides the shuttles which hold the threads so unattractive as well as the threads of gold. Not till each loom is silent and the shuttles cease to fly shall God reveal the pattern and explain the reason why the dark threads were as needful in the weaver's skilful hand as the threads of gold and silver for the pattern which he planned.
Come be with me, all you who carry heavy burdens. I will give you rest. I will give
And that's all that we have time for this week. My thanks to everyone who took part in today's programme, and my thanks to you for your company. Do please keep letting me know the hymns that you'd like to hear. You can email me anytime on judithlay@manxradio.com, and I'll be back here next Sunday morning at 9:30 as the churches of the island will once again be at your service. So, till we meet again, this is Judith wishing you a safe, happy and peaceful week, and a very good morning.
Manx Radio.